Hello. Welcome in. Hi. How do? I have absolutely no energy whatsoever, so welcome to whatever the fuck this stream is. But of course that's not different whatsoever from the norm, so yep. You sign up for this. But yes, welcome in Artems, welcome in Socks, and N-Bums, and Glovers. Welcome in everybody. The stream is not what is... I don't know what Bellatro is. I don't think I've ever heard of Bellatro. But yeah, P4 has some fucking slappers. All Persona games are just slappers. They're all just a bit funky. But yeah, this is probably going to be a mess of a stream. It would help if I actually used the correct controller. It would also probably help if I had like energetic music instead of, you know, not that. No, yeah, there we go. Correct button. We'll get there eventually. Which was made in a lab to laser target you in dildos. Well, now I have to look at it. What is the little? A Bellatro. Okay, so it's kind of TCG deck builder sort of thing. I can see how it'd be good. It looks interesting. Kaboob has been acquired. Proud of you. Good job. Congrats on getting kaboobed. But yeah, I've no idea what I'm actually going to do here. I'm just sort of gonna mess around a bit, try the Pantheon a couple of times, and cry myself to sleep. Probably practice a couple of them before we go in, because I don't know how to play this game. My bones! I've already immediately forgotten how to play this game whatsoever. Oh, that's really worked. Gonna shower? Enjoy shower. Don't die. Don't hurt me. Considering what it is, that went surprisingly not terribly. I just sort of need to remember to stay out of his range when he does that, but he's not actually that hard as long as I stay out of the range of the Nars. Also, remember what I said about changing the music, because I completely forgot to do so. No, why you take off my shuffle? Thank you. There you go. I need to go back to playing Crypt of the Necrodancer. It's such a good game. I never actually completed it. I got like fair chunk of the way through, but then just sort of drifted away. Hello! Ah! I immediately died. It's gonna be... it's gonna be just awkward trying to get used to using a controller again, weird enough. Like, whenever I stop using controller for a little bit and then come back to it, it's just awkward to use it. Which I guess makes sense. Ah, my buns! Yeah, I feel really clumsy. Yeah, Tabby was talking about a Shovel Knight, and I'm suddenly very much considering getting it. I don't know if it's on sale or anything, but at some point I want to play it. That was weird. What are we doing? Sir, please. My bones! There's no chance I'm beating this guy when I get to him. Oh my god. I'm struggling with the simple parts. Granted, I could probably try on like the easier one and then move up to this, but I'm not going to do that. That would be sensible, and I am not. Ow, my bones! My bones! I was using those. Ah! It takes all of like 5 seconds for this guy to kill me. I'm very much not on my game today. But as the title says, brain empty, no talent. Don't expect me to play good. Ow, my bones. I'll eventually get used to it again. But it's gonna take a bit. Oh, my bones. Oh, I actually got it. That's better progress than we've made the other times. I am an idiot. Well, I just need to get used to dodging again. You know, not like that. That's not dodging. That is being in pain. Being in pain, not so much. Helpful in terms of strategies. Strangely enough. You know, it's not entirely efficient. Get in there, though. Oh, I forgot I have a... What is it? Steady body? So I don't get pushed back. Completely forgot I put that on. Oh, that was lucky. Ah! As long as I can kill him, just like a couple of times in a row, so it's like ingrained in there. head warmed up a bit. Not like that. That is being in pain. That's being stupid. That is also being stupid. Yeah, so as long as I can kill him a couple of times, we'll probably just go and try the Pantheon. Realistically, I should probably practice Marfa. Wait. Yeah, Marfa before going back into it, but... Ow, my bones. Haha! This run is a fucking disaster already. Absolute disaster. I really should try and get the... Christ, what are they called? I don't remember what they're called. The blue masks. The blugs. I never respond to that one quickly enough to actually get through it. Walk away from him on that one. That's a lot easier than trying to jump over him and inevitably getting smacked. How? That's the worst thing to get hit by. It's the easiest part of the whole fight. There's no excuse. Okay, I just remembered that I also have to beat Sword once all of this is done. So I probably should practice them, but I also really don't want to. I know it's going to be just absolute suffering. Answer no meat pre-ball. What's the fun in that? Yeah, this Grim does double damage. Like, most of the moves are the same moves as before. So you should already be at least like fairly used to them. But there's just a couple of like little bits of it that are more awkward. Oh, actually did it. Doing Grim Tricking, no good. Grim is really challenging to get used to. But he's also one of the fights that's just really fun to do. Oh, I actually parried that. I've suddenly apparently decided to try a new thing where I'm using the D-pad. Only started this attempt, so it's gonna go terribly, but you know. Like, using the D-pad for Hollow Knight is kinda recommended. Oh, my bugs! Just because the stick always ends up acting just a little bit funky. Like, you always end up attacking the wrong directions and stuff like that. Like, I've seen quite a few people have that same sort of issue. And it's one I've had quite a lot. Like, you get used to it, but it never quite goes away. Grimace of Fun Dance, as soon as you start like figuring out how to do it, it's really fun. Like, it's one of my favourite fights in the game. And welcome in, Matha. Hello. Yeah, Grim is one of my favourite fights in the game. And also, the Sisters of Battle is also one of my favourite fights in the game. Where are they? Yo. Like, this one is just fun. Oh, it's so weird trying to get used to using the D-pad. No, that's too Papa Pain a fair while ago. Like, it would have been before I took the break, so... Quite a while back, a couple of years ago. Ah! I didn't even see her there. So awkward trying to get used to using the D-pad. Why am I doing this right now? I could try to get used to using the D-pad from like the start of the game or something. But no, I've decided to do it as soon as I go into all of the like quick moving battles in boss rush. That's how you do it, right? That's a smart way to do it. I love the White Palace. I struggled with bits of it, but like I really loved it. I'm gonna redo that fight, but I'm gonna use a stick this time and see how much of a difference it makes. worst place to get hit. Not the place to jump. Just trying to be capture down now. There we go, that'll do it. Yeah, I love the White Palace. Like, I like that, like, more intense platforming quite a lot. Part of the reason that I really liked Celeste. I kind of want to do Path of Pain at the moment. But I also, it's such a fucking travel. Like, I could go and find it. The distance. Even on the map? No. I suppose it's not that far. Fuck it. Why not? Yeah, Celeste is good fun. I do kind of want to go back to Celeste and do like speedruns of it, but I also... You know? I do, but I also really, really don't. Pretty sure, if I remember rightly, I have to go up this way to get out. No, why? My bones. Please. Why? My baby. Welcome in, Colt. How are you doing? Well, that horrific mess really sets you up for what to expect during the Path of Pain. Yeah, controller with less fucking D-pad is very helpful. Not that I ever used my D-pad properly. Wait. Oh, I forgot. I don't actually know where I am. I don't have that charm equipped. It should be up here though. Spreading managed democracy. Valid, as you should. This is absolutely not the place I wanted to be. How did I get up here? It's been so long since doing any of this. Why are you back? And I came through this like section so rarely that I just don't know where the fuck I am. There we go. That's the one. I'll make a joke about Celeste and trans people, but you're naked. Does Celeste have... I don't know. Forgot about the massive gaping buttholes in here. Oh yeah, I'm not supposed to punch them. That was kind of stupid, huh? Don't mind me being terrible at the game, as is the parrot. Thanks, Artemis. Aw, I thought I could get up there. Genuinely, no idea where the fuck I am right now. This is definitely the wrong place. You can tell it's been a while. But I think I have to actually go around the stone. It's such intense music for not much happening. Going for murdering worm babies, as you do. Oh, my boats. It's been so long since I've actually played the game. Like outside of speedruns and doing Godhome right now. Like properly played it. Why am I didn't realize I did so much damage right now. But apparently I'm just walking around one-shotting everything. I had no idea I was doing that much damage. What do I even have equipped? I have... Oh, it's because I've got strength on there. Yeah, that'll be the one. Ah, of course. Ah, of course. Hang on. There we go. You would think that there's no way I can get lost on the way there from here, but you never know. I am incredibly dumb. As we just established. Good job, me. Hello, Cavi. Welcome in. How are the meetings going? Wrong one. I probably could have found a stag that would be closer. I don't know if there... Actually, I don't think there are any. But now comes the fun part of trying to remember where the hell this thing even is. Whee! Do not remember whatsoever. Never mind. Nope, do mind. Is it over there? I thought it was in there. I might be thinking of somewhere further up. I was right. It's definitely... I mean... Controller, please. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is there. Welcome in, Pep. How you doing? I am absolutely... Yeah, it's definitely there. That's a hard hit? What do you mean hard hit? No, you don't need to nart it. You don't need to... It's if I remember rightly, it's just an open space. You can just go in. I get locked because I've already done it. I'm gonna go through and double check that I've not, like, dumb-brained it. It looks like the right spot, but maybe I'm actually really dumb. Like this. Oh. Well, that's a pain. Close is permanent and once finished. If I had known this, I would have been less dumb. I'm trying to think if there's any way I can open it back up, but I would have to have just a save that's there. Which I don't think I have. Well, all of that journey was just so that you could see exactly how bad at this game I am. There you go. After pain. Already completed, mate. Already completed it, mate. You are. Apparently that's my already completed voice. You are. It's okay, I hate me too. Didn't get set up anywhere. I genuinely don't know. I also don't remember which... Oh. It is up. Oh. Back to the remainder. Apparently past me was not a fucking moron. You would never believe it. Painter, I hardly know her. Can I? Just... I mean, I could do... I could just make this nasty. An interesting timer for the game? Oh. Why is that still on? That's not supposed to be on because it's supposed to work with the stream game. So if it's not Persona 3, it's supposed to not turn on. Thanks, Obama. Let me double check it. Or fucking... Why is it not? I did set it so that it only does it in Persona 3. But it apparently took that option out. So I'm going to leave it on for now and see if the timer comes back. Which hopefully it won't. Does it have the pit? I don't... No, this game doesn't have that. Anyway, we're just gonna do, apparently, an all bindings P1. Because that's the vibe of the day. I have a pain warning. So yeah, it's all bindings is you've only got your baseline hearts. Actually, I think you've got less than baseline hearts. I'm fairly sure you start with 5. That's not what I wanted to go there. Yeah, sorry, basic hearts, 4 hearts. No charms. Base nail damage, so 5 instead of like the 21 I think it is for max level name. Yeah, stubby nail. And obviously you only have 1 charge of soul that you can build up. That's the wrong direction. Good job, me. Yeah, apparently I've never done any of them. Which is kind of weird to me. I thought I had done some. My bones! Yeah, if you do this you can get blue blood for the Champion 5, which is kind of handy. Like, the more of these you do, the more blue blood you get. Oh god. Oh, my bones. Yeah, there's also, once you... If you do all of the bindings, like for every Pantheon, there's also a little sort of lore room that opens up. It doesn't do anything, but it's a little bit of lore. Aha, my bones! Why am I going to die to fucking Gruz Mother? What is wrong with me? Don't do that. Job done. I'm pretty sure there's 5 battles total for this. Oh god, this is weird. I'm so thrown off by not having fast tail. Like, at this point, I'm just used to having it. Especially because I've, you know, came back to after so long and only had it. Ooh. So swinging this slowly is just weird. I do a stretch, I can do that. I'm gonna wait for the... There we go. Okay. There we go. So I don't horrifically die while I'm stretching. God, we're gonna get so many mossy pets. I almost forgot how I'm supposed to do this. Never mind me, I'm stupid. I love the moss charger so much. It's such a silly fight. Ah. Right, that was a weird pop. Rude. Ah. Perhaps I won't realize you said mossy, not mozzie. Oh, please, my soul. No, wait, no. Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good. We take this. But yeah, when you have a bunch of the seals done, if you move over to the left during P5, that you can find some blue blip. Mossy, much tougher battle for a little bug. Mossy would absolutely murder a little bug. Oh god. Oh god. Sand with door. Gorb, I know you wanted to ascend, but that's a bit too much. I'm just a little bit closer to the ground. Help my bones. I don't have any soul for this. Awkward. Ah, Fundo! Doma, doma! Ho, ho, ho! I love this little poop boy, he's so cute. Ah, Fundo! I know, he's so happy to be here, just surrounded by mountains of poop. He's such a mood. Ooh. He's a sweet little man. Look at his little wiggly legs. And his little poop stank. Oh, God. Also, as a complete side note, another side note, I completely forgot that I had no health there. But as a complete side note to everything that's actually going on the stream, I am going to be living off the serotonin I got last night for like the next year. I was just going around doing my little, you know, security person thing. And some of the places that we do security for are like residences. So 9 times out of 10, if you're anywhere near any of the people that are there, you know, they're always either ignoring you entirely or giving you horrid glances like, oh God, what have we done, you know? That sort of existential panic you get when someone is coming by. They could catch you out for doing something, but you don't know what you've done. You just sort of get that look all the time. But last night, I was going for one of these residences, and this lady, she's about to go into her room, and she just pauses as she's going in, stares at me for a few seconds, and I'm sitting there going, "Oh fuck, what have I done?" And she just goes, "You have lovely hair." Like, oh, okay. Thanks. I guess. So I'm going to be living off of that for like the next decade at least. That's my compliment for like forever. Bearing in mind I usually hate my hair. Yeah, I was absolutely not expecting that even slightly. Yeah, it was really cute, but how do you help? It's one of those things where you're not sure if you're allowed to compliment them back, because, like, being security, it's like, is it weird if I give you a compliment? You know? Like, would it come across as like, you know, using a position of power or something? I don't know. But you're very sweet and very, very pretty. Just women, you know? Just, I like women. Wait. Not this one though. Grandmother can bugger off. Turns out the coffee training with a few people from Orphan. I genuinely don't know what organization would be. I'm sure I've been told. But I cannot think at all what that would be. Oh, from my work. Okay. I didn't know they were. I didn't know there was a coffee trading trip. Why would there be a coffee trading trip for organization? That doesn't make sense. Whose idea was this? I genuinely had no idea what you meant. Oh, my bones. People work at the coffee shop. I guess, yeah, there are quite a few like cafes and stuff around, so I suppose so. None that do like actual like proper none that would do like what I would consider to be needing a coffee training trip. But I suppose. You know what? I'm not gonna begrudge them the training. Yeah, there's not like... I can imagine where they work. It's just there's no like... There's no like fancy coffee shops around here. It's just... You know... little lunch places, basically. Let's see. How dare! I was petting you. Sorry, where? What? It's still in Italy? Why would they need a trip to Italy for a coffee trading trip? Like, not necessarily that, just... Why would anyone need a trip to Italy for a coffee trading trip? Oh, god damn it. I keep missing my time. I'm getting hit, so I have to heal, so I have to stop hitting it. This is the longest mossy. I appreciate Gloves just sitting there enjoying bliss out. It's very validating. Shaw! God, why is my fingers? I mean, Italy is where fancy coffee come from, but also... No one in my organization needs to go to Italy for fucking coffee trading. That's so funny. Ow! Ow! I give up, I'm terrible at games. All expenses paid 5-day trip to Bologna. I learned how coffee's reducing best practices for making it. That's nuts. That's genuinely absolutely nuts. I mean, it's cute though. I would absolutely go on it. Even if I would feel horrifically out of place not knowing how to speak any Italian. Persona 5 music is just a vibe. Oh, Gorb! Gorb, no, don't walk inside my asshole. It's mine. At least he's teleporting nice this time. That's lovely. Just Italian and Duolingo for a while before one. That's fair. You would do. Bundo! No ground for you. No poop. Hello. Of course I used that right before this. Whoa! Okay. Yamaha! No, you're... please. Why? Why Pip? What Pip? Honest. Good job, me. Yamaha! Ooh. I also got donuts from Lidl, so that's my other dose of serotonin for the day. It's one of those things where I went there. I went to the bakery specifically because I had a free donut to pick up. What is wrong with me? Why am I walking into this man? Yeah, I could get a free donut because occasionally you just get little things on the app. So I'm like, okay, I'll do that. Sounds good. You ass. Why am I apparently suddenly really terrible?
They call this the champagne of pain, and I can see why. This has no redeeming qualities in it whatsoever. That's where woman.
Ooh, it's sub-anniversary day on.
Ooh, Merry Submiss. And thank you again for the sub. It would be great if I sucked less at this game. Yamaha! Oh, having such a weak nail is going to end me. Vegan noodles. Ooh, that sounds fun. Oh, you piss shit my asshole. The exact moment it decided to jump on me was the exact moment I decided to start healing. I need to get through Soul Warrior without being horrifically stupid. Which is a challenge for someone like me, but we could do it. There. Why? Cease. Dead. Wait. There we go. Nice and healed. No, you're not healed! Why? Why you do this to me? Yeah, I had free donut on the app, so I was like, okay, I'll go get a little donut. Salty's been craving donuts. This works out. I ended up getting 2 donuts because there's Valentine's Day ones and they look tasty, so so I have 2 donuts now. This just be my life. Also, yes, I absolutely do have Final Fantasy X music in this playlist now. After watching Shaka stream it. Bounty donuts? No, yeah, Valentine's donuts. Bounty donut would be so weird. I can't imagine adding like coconut flakes to a donut. A donut? And stealing that. I am gonna make a donut just for fun. Oh, fuck me. I keep messing up the jumps, and it's the easy jumps that I'm messing up. But yeah, the Final Fantasy X music is just the vibe now. It's so fucking good. I still need to go back and watch the end of that playthrough. It was one of those things where I'd meant to do it, but I literally forgot what I was planning to watch. Like, I knew I had to catch up on a stream, but I could not figure out what stream I had to catch up on. Because I'm dumb. I have no brain. Feel that Biscuit. I don't think I have ever had Biscuit. I don't even really know what it is. It's just a thing. Oh yeah, bastard. Yeah, the Krispy Kreme donuts are fucking expensive though. I always want to get them, but I can just never justify it. Like, they're okay. They just aren't, you know, £24 worth of okay. Caramelized biscuit that made into a spread. That sounds nuts. Very, very nuts. Dough nuts, one might say. Yep. Give me just a second. I think Ash has just received the package that me and Orb sent her. Any more basic yeah, you can just get so much more for the money. Like all of the filled donuts and Krispy Kreme are kind of the same way. But I will probably never end up trying it, so that's okay. I was using those. My heart is for bones! I didn't expect her to move exactly where I was planning to land. Not sure why, but I've been thinking about playing Warframe again lately. Like, it's been years since I last played it. Obviously, I stopped playing it because they never put out fucking content for it. And also because Destiny came out. Like, Destiny 2 went free to play at the exact right time to mooch every Warframe fan in the world. That was part of the reason that I got so into it, was because I was already in that sort of space. It just took over. But yeah, Warframe had just a few years of basically nothing coming out for the game. They could get a story quest every second year, and it was like, okay. It'd be like 1 hour's worth of story. Woo! I love Gorb so much. I hate him, but I love him. My bones. Gorb! Every single time, I swear to God. Every time I try to heal, Gorb just walks into my face. Which, to be fair, is what the game is programmed to do. Like, every boss in the game is programmed to get more aggressive the second you start trying to heal. I love that you said whatever's easy tonight, I'm tired, and then went and listed like several things that you would have to prepare that would not be easy. I was like, I am dysfunctional. Holy mama! Yabaha! Ha ha ha! God, I suck. But to stave off the loneliness depression is valid. It's how I get by. Oh, you... I fully had my hands off the controller for a minute there. Completely distracted by chat. You fuck. Why is Soul Warrior giving me trouble? Out of everything, why is Soul Warrior giving me trouble? There is absolutely no reason for Soul Warrior, out of everyone, Soul Warrior, to give me trouble. He's not hard, I'm just stupid. Fuck me. Stupidity as is evidenced by my inability to hit this enemy. Ooh. A little bit spicy there. Right. Have just an incredible ability to get hit by things that I should not get hit by. do you do that? I keep getting hit by it because it keeps coming like almost completely vertically. It's nasty. God, this fight takes forever. There we go. It really takes so long when you don't have any charms or a damage capability. Oh, this is fine. Mossy next? No. I think Mossy's after this one.
They call this the champagne of pain, and I can see why. This has no
Hello,
redeeming qualities in it whatsoever. That's good.
Hi, hi.
Thank you very much for resubbing. Big fish. And welcome in. Hello, how are you doing? I was originally going to do more P5 in this one, but I'm kind of vibing with just trying to get this done. Kind of get at least a little bit of blue blood. Mossy pet. Hi! Mossy! No biting. Mossy boy just wants a cuddle, but he's a bit of a biter, so you can pet him from a distance. So absolutely something you've had to say to Mossy before. I can believe it. I was expecting a Hidiro, not a ha. No. He'll eat your children. Ha! I hate it here. Everything is suffering. To be fair, Artemis, I also like to bite if I'm in a playful mood. Quick, 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 quick. That was my own stupidity. You weren't in a playful mood when you were down. No, it's in a horrifically anxious mood, obviously. I was actually just in a sleepy mood. Because I'd had all of 2 hours of sleep because I'm an idiot. I can't go to sleep at reasonable times. You don't get playful salty unless you're in private. It's a special treat. Oh, you bugger. I have no idea why Twitch is like this now, but pretty much every stream, well, exactly on every stream actually, regardless of whether I'm viewing or streaming, it always disconnects, like, every hour. Like, from the chat. It's annoying. Like, it used to do it constantly when I was on a VPN, but I'm not on a VPN. I used to stop having, like, I'd stopped using the VPN to use Twitch, because it was so annoying. Because it was every, like, 2 minutes. But now it's just doing it because it's arbitrarily fucking me, I guess. Ah, Hundo! Yo-ho-ho! Yamaha! Yamaha! Sir, please. Doma, Doma. Ha-ha! The poop! Yamaha! Ooh. Yamaha! Man just really likes good motorbikes. That's all it is. Okay, no getting horrifically murdered by Soul Warrior. I said no getting horrifically murdered. That is getting horrifically murdered. Suck it. Eat my ass. Who was next? Ah! Hello. The one I have no excuse to lose against. Ow, my bones. Ow, my bones. Ow, my bones. No. Wait, rude. No, rude. Sir. Yes. Everything about that was bad. I have no excuse for being so bad, I just am. I keep trying to heal up because I know I need to, because I suck, but every time I try to heal, I get hit again. Because I also suck at trying to find out when to heal. That's a problem. It's me. I am the problem. Yeah, I have so many games I want to play at the moment. All of them are like massive, huge games. Except from this one. Like, I think the only other like regular size game, or at least game that can be regular size, is Frostpunk. Because I got gifted that a couple of weeks ago. So I'm going to play that on stream at some point. Here and there I've been playing Graveyard Keeper. I have no idea if I'm ever going to actually finish it, but I have been playing it. Although not since Persona came out. Yeah, everything else that I've been like thinking of playing lately has been Persona, multiple Fire Emblem games, Final Fantasy VIII. Like, what if I got an interest in a game that was not 100 hours long? You know? Can you stop that, sir? Trying to dodge the ones where it comes almost vertically, or it's stupidly hard. That was such a bad village fighting. What is wrong with me? Man, please. To be fair, Artemis, I don't think you've ever stopped playing the public games. I always see you on them. They're just sort of like a staple of the diet. It is. It's a nice game to have as a comfort game. Especially New Vegas. Like, New Vegas is such a good game. Yeah, I've also been thinking of playing Final Fantasy X again, obviously because someone else played it and I got interested and I want to see the actual story. As opposed to just, like, the bits that I caught. It'd be cool to see it from the start and just like get all of the context, and because like I could tell that there was big moments happening, but it's like I started watching this like 5 hours ago. This doesn't really impact me. What is wrong with me? The sphere grid looks horrifying, but it probably makes perfect sense as if you've actually been told how it works. Like, it's probably nowhere near as horrific as it looks. It looks horrific. And that's apparently the simplified version of it as well. Apparently there's 2 versions of the sphere grid. Fancy, please. We probably, like, if we end up playing it, we probably won't have to ask anything, because it'll be explained right there. Like, it'll make total sense. It's just because we've never seen any level, like, part of the tutorial or learning it. It's just a big bunch of shapes. It's just shit and messages. Why do I have a feeling? Hang on, I have a feeling. Hello, Teal. Welcome in. Welcome into me being a massive idiot. The Saltyverse, oh god. Welcome to the Saltyverse. Oh yeah, that's another game I've been thinking of playing. It's 7 Days to Die. Which is a game that I cannot play without becoming horrifically obsessed with. It's not even necessarily a good game, it's fun. But like whenever I play it, I get just super invested in doing it, and I never really enjoy some parts of it. But I'll play it for like 100 hours straight. Work myself out on it. And then finally like, be able to finish. My bones. Of course people are scratching expensive cars. Why would you not? Why would you not? Why would people not be assholes? In our arms, don't worry, it wasn't like anything exclusionary. It was literally just we happened to have this idea at the same time. And just sort of send them together. And it ended up costing me a fucking lot of money on shipping. As it turns out, once you go past 2 kilos, Royal Mail does not take packages. So I got fucking parcel forced, which was like 60 quid. And that was cheaper than the original quote that I was given. I never want to send a heavy package again. I need to get the P5 Tactical music into this playlist. Yeah, the day you came down. That was very, very expensive. Yeah, I'm probably not going to go too much longer because, again, baby brain day. Like, if this run fails, I'll probably do maybe one more run. Oh, I wanted to... No, let me juggle you. Let me juggle your balls. Ash, I love you. And welcome in. Hi, how you doing? Oh, my brain. I say if I don't succeed on this run. I'm definitely not going to succeed on this run. Not with playing like this. Good God. Oh. I irritate myself. So because you're demanding a tour with buy you expensive licorice, you don't even like licorice. I didn't even know it was like a thing that Markiplier had. Yeah, it wasn't too expensive, don't worry. The only expensive part was the shipping. Because I'm an idiot. That removes the balls. No balls for him. Nasty balls, man. Yeah, I'm not a fan of licorice either, to be honest. It's not really my thing. Or at least not from the times that I've had it, which has been quite a long time ago. But I did get force-fed salmiakki at one point, which was a horrifying experience. Discovered how to do damage. Good job, me. Nope. Please no. There we go. You can torch the tape off? I mean, you can, but there is also lots of cardboards in that box. It is a very cardboardy box. Oh, I want Shimkin. I want Tasty. Okay. Gaston! That was stupid. Gaston. This guy never attacks twice, like, really quickly. Outside of that one. Oh. I forgot that you do this on this one. You're opening a box with a sword? Hell yes. Ow, my bones. Oh, I so fucked this. That was just terrible. Persipiga. What you just said that was kind of hot. You nerd. Hang on. Expired candy worked as a free-for-all. Absolutely fudge. This bitch sends fudge. This is the reason that I bought myself some fudge. It's like, well, it'll get me free shipping towards me, so I might as well. That's why I had it. Because I was buying it for you. good fudge as well. Like, not exactly what I think my exact specific taste is, but I have a very, very rare taste for fudge. But yes, we love you. Love you very much. I'm glad they actually look good, because I wasn't entirely sure if you would want them or not. But yeah, the other reason I got that specific fudge is because it had a... Oh. That's weird. I don't know if that was the actual song or just my headphones again. I hope it was the song, because that... I don't want to lose another set of headphones. Or another set of cables. That would be awkward. This is a brand new cable. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's an old brand new cable. Anyway, ignore me. Ignore my rambling. First box is kind of turning it on. I mean, something had to do it. I guess. It's a sexy box. What's it look like? I don't remember what it actually looks like. It's me being terrible at the game again. Yeah, this is going to be the last run just because I big sleepy baby. And because I'm gonna disappear off and play Fire Emblem for the entire night. I do need to continue Persona at some point soon. What's wrong with me? Like, I need to at least get myself to the point where I can, like, farm off stream. I was kind of planning to do that in the last one. But then I never ended up doing that last one that I was kind of planning to do. So good job, me. You know? Flip. It's more. Time for Mossy Pets. There's no so good. Oh. See, I've never been one for licorice, but I'm glad you like it. Or I'm glad that you're going to hopefully like this one at least. Yeah, it was sheer chance that we both happened to have the exact same idea at the same time of sending a care package. So I'd been thinking about it a few days, but I was sitting there trying to figure out what to send other than just knockoff Percy Pigs. What did you try first? Feel free to make a bowl if you wanna. I don't remember what any of the licorice flavors were, so I don't know. I'm assuming you're opening the licorice. Yeah, the fudge has about a month-ish on it before it goes bad, so it's hopefully enough pink. I mean, it didn't last very long at all for me. Like, each little slap was... it lasted like a night. I'm kind of sad I didn't get more for myself, but also it isn't necessarily cheap. I'm voting for strawberry and cream. Strawberry cream sound tasty. And also I'm a slut for sweet things instead of incredibly bitter things. Helpful. Do it, Artemis, do it. Good. Ah, my foot! The P5 dance version, or the P4 dance versions as well. All the dance versions of the Persona songs are just stupidly good. Why am I full of poop? Sir, please unpoop me. I wasn't expecting to die of dumb, but we'll take it, I suppose. Yeah, the licorice box looks lovely. Yeah, Ash, we absolutely adore you. And of course we noticed that you were pregnant. So yes, I am going to finish up the stream. So, and cry. But, thank you all for joining. I know it's a short one. But, sleepy baby. You okay there, Ash? Sure. Everyone's playing a game called Nightingale. I don't know what that is, but it sounds fun. No one else is online, so we're getting melon. Oh. So fair for these. You're so cute. Okay. Sending off the raid. But thank you for coming. I might stream again in like 2 days. Hopefully I'll have more energy. We'll probably continue with Persona. Yeah! I don't want my bed. I instantly feel like cavity. Good. Yeah. Good night, nerds. Yeah, I'm glad you could pop in for a little bit. It's always nice to see you. It always makes me happy when you come around. Yeah. Have a lovely night, peeps. Ignore me speaking into the glass. But have a lovely night. We'll be here again in a couple of days, suffering. I'm actually making progress as opposed to what I do in this game. Yeah. Good night.